Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Bobby Marlab. I am the co-founder of Mentor Walks with Adina Jacobs. Before we start, I want to acknowledge that we're very national in this call today and acknowledge that we're all on the land of Indigenous peoples and pay our deepest respects to the elders past, present and emerging, and I'm on the land of the Gadigal people. To those of you who are in Victoria, we know that about a third of you on the call today are Victorians, most of those in Melbourne. Just want to let you know that our hearts are going out to you, and we're thinking about you all the time. And I, in Sydney, can tell you that no one here is taking anything for granted. So thank you for doing the hard work on behalf of all of us. We really do very, very deeply appreciate it and respect what you're doing. So it is my great pleasure to introduce Kerryn Vaughan. And before I introduce this wonderful human, I first wanted to say that in coming weeks, probably in the next week or two, Mentor Walks is doing some deep research on the impact that we've had on the women who participate in the project. It'll come to you as an email with a link, and it would help us greatly if you would take the time to fill in that survey when it arrives in your inbox. It's important to us to be able to prove over the long term how we're impacting your world, not only so that we can do more of it and help more, but also it helps us to talk to government about potential funding, which is so important for us to continuing to do this work. I also want to talk about another thing that we've initiated recently, and it's the one thing we're calling the one thing, which is that we're asking all of you that participate in a Mentor Walks event to do one thing, big, small, it can be tiny, to help another woman. That could be just simply asking her how it is. So please do that initiative on behalf and pay it forward. It would be most appreciated, and the ripple effects will be profound. So with that, it's my great pleasure to introduce Kerryn Vaughan. I had the enormous pleasure of meeting her in person in Borgore a couple of years ago, where her energy and enthusiasm and positivity just radiates, and I'm sure you guys will find that today. She, of course, is talking to us about kickstarting your idea. Kerryn is a speaker and author, a podcast host, and since 2003, she's been on a mission to build meaningfulness. In 2014, she did a project called Magnificent Kids, a book that looked at 23 heroes who started world-changing projects before they turned 18. And then in 2015, she was the founder of One Planet Classroom, which is a not-for-profit that supports kids and schools in Africa with clean water projects, adult education, empowerment of women, and so forth. The work she's doing continues, where 2 years ago she started Girls with Hammers, which is workshops to empower women. And last year started a program called Get Off the Bench, which is how do you get a project out of your head and onto paper and into action, which is of course what she's going to talk about today. So thank you for joining us. I hope you have your pen ready in hand. If you don't, just go and grab one because you'll be needing it for this session. But it was with great pleasure and gratitude that I introduce Kerryn Vaughan to you. Go for it, Kerryn.
Thanks very much, Bobby. Wonderful to be here. I'm just looking on bright red in the face. Isn't it funny how in middle age, the men get the bright red Porsche and us women just get a bright red face? It's not very fair, is it? But anyway, it's really good to be here. So I hope you all got your worksheets that Joni will have sent through to you. Generally, I will do this workshop over 2.5 to 3 hours. Tonight, we're sort of jamming it into an hour and 20 or something like that. So I am going to kind of rush through it a little bit more than I would. But if you just keep up, because it's not hard. And what it essentially does is get all the mess that's in your head, all the chaos, all the questions, all the thoughts, everything becomes too big when it's in your head. We're going to dump it onto paper, and then we're going to try and get it organized for you. You will have to do some work after this and sort of pull it out a lot more. But let's get started. And I'm assuming that all of you are coming with an idea. Now, the idea could be a personal goal. It could be wanting to start a side hustle, Or you could be wanting to set up a community project. And for example, mentoring women. That's, that could just be a community project in your office or something like that, or in your neighborhood. So the first thing I want you to do is to write down on your paper. You're just going to start writing on your paper now, from now on, what idea or project you would like to get off the ground. Now, you can do it really simply. It just maybe backpacks for displaced kids, or helping women find their voice. A side hustle might be making handmade candles, a mentoring service, or you might want a personal goal. For example, I want to build the back deck and put in an outdoor spa. Whatever your thing is, just the idea. Let's do that. I'm going to give you some examples. I'm just in the process now of setting up a project that helps women find their voice. Everything I do, I'm using my voice for: podcasting, singing, speaking. I speak around the world. I do workshops. So it's all about voice, and it's all about confidence. And what I'm finding is that there are so many women who just don't have a voice for one reason or another, or feel they can't speak up. So I'm just going to sort of talk to that as some examples as we go through. So for example, my idea would be helping women find their voice. So the next question is, what's your big vision? Now, I want you to imagine that this is the absolute ultimate, so for me, I want to say that to reach millions of women around the globe, to create equality, to have a global shift to create equality. That's my big vision. Now, if you were doing the backpacks for displaced kids, it might be that every kid has a bunch of items that belong to them, so that when they move, they're not, at the mercy of the toys and the pajamas and things like that are in people's houses. So try and make it as big as you can, and dream, please dream, because we are, as women, are too used to having a glass ceiling. And when we hit it, we stop, and we shouldn't do that. We got the power to make a massive difference. Now, the third question I want there is, how much do you believe it's possible? Now, 1 is, I don't really think it's possible at all. And 10 is, it is absolutely possible. So put a circle around which number you think it is that reflects the possibility of your goal or project or idea. And don't think too much about it, just first number. And I can't ask 155 of you, because it's just we're not going to have time. But I'm hoping that the number increases before we get to the end of this. Now, the next question is, what problem? I hope I'm not going too fast. I can't really see you all, but I'm going to take a punt that we're going okay. Now, the next question is, what problem are you trying to solve? Now, most of you are in business, or, you've been in a workplace, that consumers or anybody else, you have to solve their problem. Now, even if you're doing a community project here or a personal goal, if you don't have a problem to solve, you're not going to solve it. You're not going to move ahead. And also, if you're trying to convince people down track, you can't get funding or anything like that. If you haven't got a problem, you can tell the funder or any potential partners or collaborators or stakeholders, they're going to need to know what problem you're solving. So, as I said, just you can stretch this out in your own time, but let's sort of have a crack at this now. I'll just give you a couple of minutes to write down what problem you think you're solving. And if I look at my personal project about giving women a voice, I can say that, and I'm making this number up, that 98% of women feel their voice is suppressed in some way, and which in turn is going to solve gender inequality if I can do what I want to do. Well, it's going to work towards it anyway. I find it hard to be quiet. Anyway, I'll keep moving. If somebody's really stuck, please put in the chat if you just need a minute or so. But we'll keep going. Now, the next thing is, and trust me, this problem, I know we don't want to focus on problems. We want to focus on solutions, and that's what your idea is. However, trust me, when you go to all the sticks in the mud and all the funders and everything else, if you can't tell them what problem you're solving, you're not going to get there. All right, so the next thing, I'm getting some feedback in here saying it's going great, good timing. So if you don't solve this problem, even if it's a personal, I just want to go back to that. Even if you were just building your back deck and you're putting an outdoor bath there, still think about that as a problem, because it could be that the problem is I have nowhere to wind down. I'm feeling like I've got cabin fever. You know, I'm just feeling, particularly with COVID at the moment, I'm just feeling trapped. And if that could lead to you having mental health issues. So like a personal goal will still have a problem to solve. And then the next part of that is, if not solved, what are the implications or the impact? So we're talking about a community project. You've clearly identified that there is a need. In fact, no matter what you're doing here, you've clearly identified that there's a need or a gap. And so what is the impact or the implications if you don't solve that problem? Now, if you're just doing something like, and I don't mean just, but if you're thinking about a side hustle, the implications or the impact is you're not going to have an income, or you're not going to end up working for yourself. Like there can be implications for all of that. The implications of, for example, thank you, Kate. Not standing up for women, or not giving kids backpacks that are moving from house to house. And the implications of this is dysfunctional behaviour. Dysfunctional communities, all of that sort of stuff. Suicides. Like if you really want to take it right out, you doing your project or you doing your idea and putting it out to the world, you're probably saving lives. I know you can't see that, or you might not be able to see that at the moment, but it's so impactful. And I want to just pause right this minute to say that every single person on this call, in this Zoom room, is absolutely bloody amazing. And I know imposter syndrome kicks in, self-doubt and all of that kind of rubbish, but every single person, if you've got a dream, you can fulfill it, and the world needs what you've got. The world needs your light to turn on and shine and brighten up the world. Imagine if everybody's lights came on all around the world. Wow. What's imposter syndrome? Imposter syndrome is when you feel like you're not the one that should be doing this. So you come up with a great idea and then you say, well, nobody's going to listen to me. There are other people out there who can do this better than me. I feel like an imposter. I don't have the qualifications, therefore I feel like a fraud. It's that kind of stuff. And particularly people feel this even though they've got evidence, stacks of evidence to prove that they're not. And by the way, if you are feeling like that, what you need to do is every time you do something, like for me doing this, I get a snapshot of this, I put it in my promotion book. It doesn't mean I show anybody else, but I pull it out. Every time I do a talk for Rotary, every time I do a workshop, every time I talk on stage somewhere around the world, I make sure I capture that and I put it in a folder. And whenever I feel imposter syndrome, which I'm going to tell you is every single day, I get that book out and I look through it and I say, Kerryn, you can do this. There's evidence right here. So I hope that's a good explanation of imposter syndrome. So I also want you to look at this part of it in this, if not solved, what are the implications? Think about this. What is the world going to look like, your life going to look like, the life of others going to look like in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, if you don't do your thing? Think about that. Like, do you want to be in the same place? I always think this, in 1 year, will you be glad you did, or will you wish you did? And I can tell you, I'm always glad I did, even though I've got to push through pain. And by the way, if you want to get your life in a really nice rosy spot and get over to the lovely paddock, the green field, you've got to chunk your way through the blackberries. So, and that's just the way it is, but it's worth it. Okay, over the page now, you've got a page that says, what's your big why behind the project? So why do you want to do it, or why is it important? What I want you to do, without thinking, off the top of your head, quickly write down 10 reasons. Why do you want to do it, or why is it important? And just write, go for it. hard. Thank you. I hope they're simple steps. It works. This one's the hardest question. Yep, the next one's going to kill you. So hang on to this one. But if you don't know your why, if you don't know why you're doing it, you won't stick at it. And it's really important. I want to say more on this. I'm just going to give you another minute to write down as many as you can. And what I want you to do too is often as women, we're told, you know, control your temper, don't get too emotional, all that kind of crap that we get told. I want you to rip your emotions onto that page. If something's really pissing you off, say it. I want to do this project. You know what, for me, I was doing this for my project, and I got to a point, I started off to build my own self-worth, to build self-worth in others, to make people, and then I got to a point doing these whys where it was like, men do not control this world. Women should not feel invalid or dismissed. Women have a voice. Everybody has a voice. Nobody should feel suppressed. You know, and I got to this anger point, and that's the point that is going to drive you forward to this, because you've got to have some emotional charge, and you've got to really, really, because I started wondering, should I really do this project? I'm not sure. But when I started getting that, men do not run this world. You know, nobody should feel controlled. Nobody should feel dismissed. Wow. You know, that was that. Then I decided, you know what, Kerryn, don't you even dare step back from this, because there are women who need you, you know. So you've got to have some emotional charge in it. You've got to really, really, really have a why. Now, I'm going to assume that you've all written 10. Sort of just have a look if there's a bit of a theme, or even circle one that might be really, really crunching you in the gut. One that's really, and if you haven't got it, that's okay, because we are rushing, and you can always come back to this, but you do want to find an emotional charge that will push you forward. And the other reason we do the why is, well, there's two other reasons that are quite important, is that when you know your why, and, you know, for me saying, well, nobody should be dismissed, because I can't stand people who dismiss other people. So when I go back to my vision, you know, I say, well, I want to get to 1 million people in the world and do equality, but it might end up being that I do something else for women, you know, that only is a core group of women who are then going to go out and, you know, empower other women. But the point is that my why will be aligned to my vision. So your vision can move, you know, like you can say my vision is this, but it might end up being this. But as long as your why is the driver for wherever your vision ends up going to, you know, and it will probably move. As you refine this, it will move. The other reason your why is so important is, and it's probably, I'm going to take a punt, this has happened to most of you, and this is why you're here, that you want to do a project, or you've got an idea, or you've got stuff going around in your head, but there's so much going around, and there's so much going around in your head that it becomes too big, and then you focus on the gap and you say, I'm here and I want to get to here, and I have no idea how to do it. And so what will happen is you start to see this big gap is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, and you're throwing all this chaos into it, and you give up. But if you have a why, and you know damn well what your why is, you are going to, it gets you across. So imagine you're here, there's a big lake there, and your vision is on the other side, and you are, if you know, the gap's too big. But if you look at your why, it's like, I've got to get to the other side, because that's where that thing is. You'll do one stroke, then another, then another, then another, and you will get there. But you won't if you don't know what it is. Somebody just asked something. I just want to see what that was. Can your why be an emotional, personal thing, even if your idea is for a commercial business? Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Because you don't want to go into business and not be, not be emotionally charged about what you're doing. And I'm not talking about how some men will say, oh, women are too emotional, oh, they're, you know, this and that. You've got to have passion. You've got to have drive. You've got to, you know, you can't, if you do anything wishy-washy, it's not going to happen. So if you've got it coming from your heart, I always say this, you might not agree. And if there's people in here that are, you know, I think they might not agree with me, but I'm going to say this anyway. I always say, make decisions with your heart and plan with your head. You know, just really go with that heart. So I hope that's clarified the why. Come back to that. Please come back to that and really kick some stuff in there. Now, the next one is what's in the way and what's stopping you. I really feel like I'm rushing this, but I hope we're going okay. What's in the way? Now, just write down the first thing that comes to your mind, as in what's stopping you doing this project, because clearly something has been stopping you and that's why you're here. So what's that one thing? Just write one word. And I will take a punt that quite a few of you wrote time or money. Now, I just want to push past time and money. Somebody just said something. The emotional charge you are referring to, do you mean passion? Yes, something that makes you react, makes your emotions stand up, you know, and get moving. So passion, call it what you will, but yeah, I'm interested. There's starting to come up now, fear, uncertainty. A lot of people write time and money for their, I'm just going to get that chat where I can see it. A lot of people say time and money. Now, I'm going to call bullshit on that, because if you know yourself, if there's something that's you really want to do, you will always find time for it. You always find time for it, and you procrastinate the other stuff. As for money, I want to share this because I think it's really critical. I have set up, you know, like I've written 2 books, I've set up a podcast, I run women's empowerment conferences, I run all these workshops, I set up a charity that puts water tanks and stuff in Africa. Now, when I started every single one of those, I had no money. Like, I didn't have any money to invest in any of those. So I want you to know that money is not a thing. Yes, I know COVID has been a real obstacle, and it is, some of these projects you may not be able to start until we kick back into gear. However, it's going to be really good to have it all on paper so that you can start planting seeds and start nurturing your things. Families to look after, yes, that is another thing. However, I know, but you know, it depends on the circumstances, and we haven't got time. I can't ask every single person to, but what we do in this house is we've got teenagers. We get up at 5 o'clock every morning and we put the first hour of the day or 2 hours of the day just into projects, or just into work we're doing, writing blogs, writing books, you know, that sort of stuff. So it's not always as easy as I'm making it sound, but please don't make it harder than it has to be. I don't know the government legal insurance steps to set up. Yes, it's a minefield. Yeah, I know. But let's get all this down. Let's go down, because once you sort of start to break it down, you will find things. You know, I can help people further to this, but let's just try and see what we can get done today, because it's really, you will get a lot done. So basically, underneath time or money, and a few people have said here, fear of failure, losing money, energy at the end of the day after work. Sandra, my suggestion to you is do your project, do your stuff before you go to work, because you know your job so well at work, you're just going to do it on autopilot anyway, and you're better off to invest the morning in what you do, and then just do your work and then relax at the end of the night. Board positions controlled by men, I know, that's why women need a voice. But look, there are the blockages on there that people are writing that are very significant, very real, but at the same time, there's a way to get through it. There truly is. Back yourself, get some people on board with you, you know, get some collaborations going with other women, confront the men, like challenge, you know, like, I know these things sound pretty hard at the moment, and some of you are going to get off this call and say, I can't do it. And that's okay. But I hope you don't. I really hope you don't, because, you know, it's, and not sure even where to start. Seems like a lot. I know we're going to break that down. We are going to get it down. So, it's important your why is strong. Exactly. Look, if your why is strong enough, and that's why I want you to go back and do that, get an emotional charge to it, really, really feel something and passionate and be driven by that, because you will find a way. You will. I'm going to keep moving, but just let your barriers down. That's the best thing I can say. Just let your walls down and have a go. Just back yourself. Stop all the barriers just while we do this call, at least, and dream. Please do that. Fear is absolutely under almost everything. Fear of this or fear of that. And you know, there's a way around that, but it's about asking yourself. I think that's a real digging point. You've got to dig. What am I scared of? I'm a fear of failure. And then ask yourself, is that real or is that perceived? When did I fail last? How many times have I achieved? And start to really work out the truth on that, because a lot of the times what you'll find is you're actually you've convinced yourself that you're going to fail. You convinced yourself of things that are not actually true. But and a lot of things have started from our childhood, and if you actually want to do that, go right back to your childhood, to a place you can remember that really wasn't great, and think about how you how that plays out in your life now. I don't want to get right into that because it's a whole psychological issue, but you can push through. You can. I'm going to move on because this one's it's that part of it is messy. Everyone gets a little bit upset, and it's sort of, you really got to look at yourself there. Now, look at your idea. Somebody just said, I prefer to give it a go and fail and not try it all. Just very quickly, when I started up One Planet Classrooms, I started it up as a Skype project, and it was going to be the classes in Africa Skyping with classes in Australia. I jumped in. I sent laptops to Uganda, nearly got somebody killed smuggling them in. The classes in Uganda were asleep, were in bed, when the classes in Australia were awake. Like, it didn't work. And worst of all, I sent laptops to a country where 95% of them didn't have power. Now, I absolutely screwed up, but I talked to all these teachers and they were telling me all these kids were dying from drinking dirty water. So I shifted my vision and said, right, I'm just going to put water tanks in schools, and we've done tons of them, and also water wells in villages. So I don't even know where. So the fear of failure. Don't fear failure, because it often will lead you. It will lead you. I see failure as feedback and rejection as redirection. So just back yourself. The only person stopping you is you. Trust me. Just trust me on that. Now, I want to just get to the next part about, God, I'm hot in here. I tell you what, I've been cold all day. Now I'm like a bloody little lobster cooking here. But anyway, think about your idea. Now, can it be, sometimes what happens is that we're so overwhelmed because we think it's just so big, and I don't know where to start. It's massive. Think about it as being a pilot program. Is there a part of your project that you can break down? Like, is there one little chunk that you could do? For example, if we're talking about, me giving a voice to women, I want to do 1 million women. Well, that's too hard. But could I start with, just the women in the local Rotary Club? Or if you're going to give backpacks to kids, could you just say, I'm just going to give backpacks to the kids in my hometown through the Rotary Club, through the Lions Club? Just sort of, can you break it down to a small pilot project so that it's not going to cost you money, it's not going to cost you a lot of time, you're not going to invest much, but what you are going to do is you're going to get evidence that it'll work, you're going to get measurements, you're going to get, get photos for your demonstrated achievement. That's what I love, is we get tons of photos from Africa. That's how we prove what we're doing. If you can break it down to a small thing, for another example, a friend of mine wants to start a big domestic violence shelter in Maui, actually. and it's too big. And that project's too big. So I said to her, well, how about start with like a coffee shop? Clearly we can't do it at the moment. You know, find somewhere where you can, a little hall or somewhere where you can just run a coffee shop on a Tuesday, get everybody in and start having conversations so that you're starting to measure who really needs this, you know, how you're impacting women. And then when you go to ask for funding, you've already started something, you know, and you can already tell them that you're having an impact, but you need to grow this thing. So potentially there's some chance for you to run a pilot program just so that you can get the evidence and so you can get some measurements. The other thing too is if you're going to ask for funding from anywhere, they're usually going to want to know, you know, have you tried this? Has anybody else tried this? What have you found out? That sort of stuff. So consider whether you can do that. The next thing is resources. So now, part of when you go to think of a project, you think, oh, it's too big. I don't know what the steps are. I don't know what I need. Oh, God, I'm going to have to get this. And it is so freaking big. Or once we start writing everything down, we start saying, hang on, okay, now I've got some order. I can get that. I can get that. So start writing down just even 10 things. What resources do you imagine you might need? And that might be a website, it might be a bus, might be land, it might be an office space, it might be candle burners, you know, it might be, you know, candle holders, it might be, I don't know, a warehouse, it might be a storage shed, it might be a printer and a laptop, I don't know. But just write as many as you can just whack out in the next minute or so. For the pilot or the idea, no, just for the whole idea. You can do it either way. Actually, just split it in half and make half the pilot. If you're really sure you want to go with the pilot, just think about what resources you want for that. Either way, it doesn't matter because we just want to get something started. But probably, if you think that you can do a pilot for your project and you think that you really, that's something you really can get going, then maybe yes, just start the resources for that so that you can actually get it off the ground. Okay, so the next question is, which of these resources do you already have? A lot of the times we've already got a laptop, we've already got a printer, you know, that sort of stuff. We've already got, I don't know, whatever you need. You might have a shed out the back you can start working in. I don't know. I can't tell you the answers here because I don't know what everybody's projects are, but you probably already have some. But if you don't, we'll move to the next question. And where can you get the balance of these resources, or where could you get the balance from? Now, I've got a little note under there that says, you know, friends, family, community, key supporters, sponsors, government, grants, crowdfunding, fundraising. There's a million places to get resources from. And but I do want to say there that don't use anybody. You know, don't take advantage of people, because that's the quickest way to lose them. It's the quickest way for people to start talking about you and saying, you know, I was trying to help, but people are like that. But people also really, really want to help. So you can get things, and just thanks, just, you know, involve them, make people feel like they've got some ownership, some part in it. People will give and give and give if you do it right. Don't worry at the moment about grants and all that stuff. Just if you think you could get them from grants, just write grants. You know, that's something that you might have to just go and do a bit more work on down track. And I wish I could see all your projects. I really wish I could. I hope, yeah. Well, maybe we'll change the survey later to say what was your project, just so I can. I love projects. This is so good. So at the moment, if you're thinking about where can you get the balance of these resources, if you're thinking, if something is blocking you, like you might be, I'm too embarrassed to ask, I'm too ashamed to ask, I don't have the confidence to ask, I don't have the courage to ask, all of that sort of stuff, write it anyway. And I also want to say this on confidence. You know, too many people try to build confidence and gain confidence, and they say to me, when I'm confident, I'm going to go and ask somebody. And I say, when are you going to be confident? Well, I don't know. I just have to get confident. You can't get confident without actually doing it. So I always say courage before confidence. If you have the courage to do something, when we did the mentor walks in Bobo, the girl that I had was telling me about that. I don't know why I said I don't want to be matched with someone who whinges, who doesn't. I don't mean whinges, but doesn't want to work in a male-dominated field, because I'm just going to tell them to tell the boys to go, you know, to stuff themselves. Well, thanks, Bobby, because she did. She matched me up. But Megan was absolutely beautiful, and she said that I haven't got the confidence, and I deserve a. You know, the men are getting everything that I'm not getting, and I'm getting less, and I'm not being overlooked. And so I said to her, you just go in there with courage, put your courage pants on, go in there, tell him what you want. And she did. And she got a promotion and she got a pay rise. So courage is courage is king. Just go for it. Fake it till you make it, baby. That's right. Or fake it till you become it. But just courage. Courage will get you anywhere. Righto, over the page. I'm keeping an eye on the time, but we're going very well. Actually, we're going better. We're going much better than I thought, much quicker. Now, also we've got here risks. You know, this is kind of the, people hate this bit, you know, what risks, unless that's part of your job and you're one of those people who has a job that loves to do, you know, hazard reports and all that kind of stuff. You still need to do this, because often what will happen is, you know, oh, yeah, I really want to do this, but then I've got to get permits, and then what if someone burns themselves? And all the risks seem to put you off. Once you write them down, you start looking at them in a different light. You start looking at them saying, oh, actually, that's not too bad. So write down even 2 risks or 3 risks, and underneath it, write how you might mitigate those risks, because it's not as hard as you think it is. It's not as, what's the word? It's not as scary. It's not as, it's not bigger than you. And by the way, we were talking about asking people for help. You know, all of you will know an OH&S rep somewhere. They're the sort of people that love this kind of thing. And you can ask them, you know, I want to do this project. What risks can you identify, and how might I get around them? And they will. They'll tell you. I'd like to make a documentary film that changes the status of women. I started writing about other projects, and projects I could do, but when you started talking about passion, I realized that is fantastic. Part of my project is going to be documentaries too, telling women's stories. So you go for it, girl. You go for it. Yes, please do it, because women need other women's voices. You know, this whole thing, you know, how much gender equality do we have in the workplace and all that kind of stuff. It's just not making enough traction. It's not making enough. If women don't start picking up women, you know, and going for it, we're not going to make it. So pick each other up. Go for it. Go for it. Okay. I can't read everything because it's sort of going like, but anyway, so has everybody got 2 risks and 2 ways you can mitigate those problems? I'm trying to read to read that and do the same thing. It's a bit hard. Love your project, Mika, so do I. Okay, so I'm going to assume that you've written 2 risks. And now, if you, on that topic, the risks might be, think about if you're going to do barbecues and all that kind of stuff, or sausage sizzles and God knows what, just remember that you've got to get permits as well. You know, so if you're going to start doing fundraising and that kind of thing, just make sure you check with your local council about what kind of permits you need, and what do you call it, food safety certificates and all that kind of stuff. So just keep all that in mind. Now we're nearly at the end, but I'm glad we're ahead of time, because I can knock off the things that are on the back, or maybe take some questions. But you want to start a gender equality party? Go, girl. Now, 5 big picture actions that you can take. Now, what I want you to do, and you'll see across the top of this section, you've got a darker grey, and it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in it. What I want you to do is get your project and think about 5 big picture parts of your project. So for me, with my project for the Giving Women a Voice, one is research. The next one is create a program. I need to look at all the legal aspects, like business, starting a business and everything else. I need to gather resources like camera, microphone, laptop, stands for the cameras and God knows what. And then I've got marketing and website page. So clearly there's a ton of other things, but just write 5 big picture things across the top. And then underneath those 5 big picture things, actually, I'll give you a minute just to write those things. But once you've done that, underneath each one, in the boxes below each one, see if you can write down, break it down even further. So write down 5 or 10 things that come under each one of those headings. For example, my first one is research. I've got to start with research because I can't just be sprouting out figures if I don't have them. I also need to ask women, what's the problem? Why do you feel like you're voiceless? So I need to do surveys, social media posts to ask questions. I need to email friends. I need to ask in women's groups. I need to do case studies. I need to read books. So I need to do a whole bunch of research to see if I can work out why women feel they don't have a voice. And then clearly build a program around that. And building a program around that is, do I do it face-to-face? Do I do it virtual? Are there questions? Is there a process? How long the time frame? What are the measurements? And then legal, you might have a legal thing. And so you've got to think about, do you want to, does your project need to be registered as a business? Some do, some don't. It just depends. Does it need to be registered as a not-for-profit? Do you need a business name? Do you need an ABN? Do you need insurance? Do you need photo or video release forms? Do you need permits? Do you need licenses? Do you need qualifications? So there's a whole lot of stuff that might go under that. I just call it legal, but it's all that formal stuff that people are going to expect that of you. Not for every project, but your project might require that. And then there's the whole issue of the website. Can you build a website? Do you need a whole website? Can you piggyback on someone else's? If you've already got a website, can you use a page? Can you just use Facebook? Just use a Facebook group? Do you need to get a domain name? I know I'm sprouting out a lot of stuff, and by this point, you might be thinking, oh, Jesus, I don't want to do all that. But if you write it all down, it gets it out of your head. And the biggest problem is all this mess in your head coupled with self-doubt and fear, and it's a mess. Get it onto paper, start to look at it, and it will start to come to life. It will start to come to life. I'm backing all of you. I wish I could hear some of you, but don't turn your mics on. It'll be a very messy noise. Now, once you write down all these things, you'll notice that there are, 100 more steps than you probably even thought there were, and it becomes a massive deal for some people. Some of you will be like, oh my God. And if I didn't leave you enough lines, go and do it again. Do all these questions again, draw them right out. But even though it's massive, what you'll notice now that you're starting to write these things out, is it's becoming organized. You can start to see that I've got this bit and that bit, and I can focus on that, and I can pick out that, and now I know I need to get that. And you can start ticking things off, whether you like an action plan or a mind map, or whether you want a vision board, whatever you want to do. Once you can see these things on paper, you can actually start ticking them off one by one, and you can start prioritizing, and you know what you have to do. Now, I'm going to ask you, this is this is where your project starts. There is stuff on the other page, and I am going to get to that because we do actually have time. And I'm surprised this is actually booming. So we might have some time for some time. See, nobody's stopping me halfway through questions like normally. So what I want to do is ask you this, and I want you to really think about this. Think about all that stuff you've just written in the 5 big picture things. And now write down, what is your first step? Yes, Alison, it will help. I don't know what you're talking about, like what project or whatever, but it's if you've got a picture of it, you've got an outline of it, and you've got a story, so you can start to explain all the sections of it, and people will get on board a lot quicker. So so your first step could be something. For me, my first step for my project was to put a post on social media, and I did it on LinkedIn and I did it on Instagram, said what makes women feel voiceless. And I've got a stack of private messages that came through and a stack of posts, and people started telling me that, and these were successful people. I was quite surprised, to be honest, people that I thought were quite confident and vocal have come back to me telling me that they feel voiceless a lot of the time, and they didn't realize they did until I put that post up. Some of them said that, and it's given me a real insight into it. So that was my first step, was to start asking people. For me, it's clarity around brand values and problems I want to fix that others aren't doing, so I'm not at war in a full market. Yeah. Something about that too is just remember that you can't, some of you will know this, I'm sure some of you are in marketing and some of you are in sales and all that sort of stuff, but you can't keep your audience small just to start with, like target an audience that is so specific that you can really start to nut some things out. Inch wide, mile deep, exactly, and develop rich relationships with that handful of people. If you can't please everybody, you never will, and you're competing with too many people, and be known for that person that is just that niche. I know it sounds cliche and all that kind of stuff, but it does work. The other thing with the first step is that it gives you accountability. So I'll put a challenge out to you. Can you do this first step? Can you take this first step in the next 24 hours? Now, if you say no, I'm going to ask you to break it down even further. So if, no, I can't because I have to make a meeting with so-and-so and such, and it's not, I can't do that till, November when everybody comes back. Break it down further. Can you do some research? Because there's nothing stopping you getting on your computer straight after this or tomorrow, within the next 24 hours, and looking up some information about your thing. If you're going to make handmade candles, the first step you could do is just go and find out how much it costs to buy blocks of soy wax. But just get moving, that sort of stuff. Backpacks for kids, start looking up how many, what sort of charities are out there that are serving homeless kids. Like research can happen in 10 minutes. And so even if that's your very first step, because I can tell you, once you start, you get the momentum going. As soon as you put it off, the momentum stops. The other thing I'd suggest with that is put 15 minutes a day into your project. And I usually do it when I'm starting up a project. It's my first 15 minutes of the day. I'll, I live on a farm and I've got tons of animals, so I cater to them first. But then I make a coffee and then I sit down for 15 minutes and I do something on my project. And it might only be just research. It might only be typing in voiceless women or something like that and just seeing what I get. But if you do it, 50, I'm not sure what 50 means, but Anyway, if you put in time every single day, what happens is it starts to 15. I'm sorry about that. 15 minutes, 15. If you start to put time into it every single day, what happens is it starts to become part of you. It starts to build momentum. It starts to become part of your life. If you do a little bit here and then wait for 2 weeks, and you do a little bit more in 2 weeks' time, and then you do a little bit more when you're waiting on someone else, it's just going to sit there. You're just going to have pockets of bits and pieces every single day. Even if all you do is sit in front of your computer with the intention and you don't do anything, just put that little bit of time into focusing on your project. Draw pictures about it, look through magazines. Oh, I wonder what I could do about such and such. Like just keep breathing, living and breathing it. So make sure that you knock whatever it is, your first step, down to something that can be achieved in 15 minutes, or being forced to take leave each week from work and using that time. Yeah, exactly. Look, I know that, this COVID stuff is, I don't know, like there's just so much tragedy around it. But if we focus on that, on the tragedy, we're really going to we're going to rip ourselves to pieces. We've got to find the silver lining in it, and for some of us it's hard. And I've had one friend has died from it, and I had another friend who's been in intensive care, on a ventilator in New York, and just it's crappy. And another guy I used to work with disabilities, he just died a couple of days ago. But everybody's going to be impacted by some way, and I think we need to use this time to start fresh. I think we need to say that it's almost like the universe has said, just stop. You humans are, you're grinding, you're pushing, you're wrecking the planet. Start doing good stuff. Start doing stuff that's really good. And I think now's the time. And if you're going to sit at home and wallow, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but if you've been put off from work and you're going to sit on the couch feeling sorry for yourself, you're going to sink into depression. It's going to be bad for you. But if you can focus on your project and start to put bits and pieces together, it starts to give you self-worth. Like your personal value feels better. You might not be getting anywhere. You might not have any money to start it. You might be, it's just not going to happen right now. But you want to put your mind to good use. You want to be focusing on good things where you feel great about yourself, because the alternative is shit. And that's all there is to it. So put it to good use, despite how crappy it is, because none of us can change it. The only thing we can change is how we spend our time and what thoughts we think. So let's make them good. Alison said something, great ideas coming from great times of trauma. I agree. I agree. And I don't want to sort of be the little butterfly in here saying, just don't worry about it. Let's just do great things because all these good things come from bad. I don't want to play it like too fluffy like that. But in reality, we've got two choices. We can sit and go down, or we can step up and go up. And that's all there is to it. So now I want to ask you now, before we do tackle the next page, because we actually have got time, which is fantastic. Go back to that, how possible do you think it is? And circle it again. And I'm hoping with all my heart that people circle at least one or two up. I really hope. I agree with that comment that focus and spend time on things you can control. Yeah. And focus on the positive. And, like sometimes positive psychology is a little bit over the top, but we're actually allowed to be sad. We're allowed to be angry. We're allowed to go through the emotions, but it's how long we sit there. That's the point. We're allowed to be upset about this, but we can't sit in it forever. We can't. So gone from 2 to 3 or 4, good, 10 to 10. Oh, 10. That's fantastic. I was at 10, stayed at 10. I love it. It's think about this, that, before you went to school, you didn't know that 2 and 2 equaled 4. Like, it was beyond your realm of possibility, but it actually did exist beyond what you knew. And what I want to say now is, you think about Uber. Someone was just mentioning Uber. That came out of a tragic situation. If somebody had said 20 years ago, I can tell all of us that are over, I don't know, over 40, we would say, if someone told us 20 years ago, somebody's going to be driving around, you just get on your phone, because we didn't have smartphones either. We would have thought that was a bit of lunacy. You just get on your phone and you just go to this place and you just order your dinner, and then they roll up at your door. Well, most of us would have said that's utter rubbish. I remember when I was younger, being a muso, I did this music course, and we were buying CDs at that point, and the guy training us, he said, it won't be long before you go into a record store and you go into a little booth and you don't buy the whole CD. You just pick certain songs and it burns a CD, and you just take that CD home. And I remember thinking, I can't even imagine that. I can't imagine that. But now we've got MP3. In fact, most of us don't buy CDs anymore. We get MP3s. The other thing, I used to be an Australia Post delivery manager, and I had 50 posties working under me, and posties are hard work, I'll just say that. But anyway, I'll move on from that. But anyway, I remember saying to them, you guys, soon we're going to have emails. And because emails are around now, and people are going to start doing all their mail through emails, and they won't be sending letters anymore, and they'll send magazines will come through email. And all the posties, I remember the whole lot of them thought I was absolutely insane, because that's not going to happen. But it did happen. So the point I'm trying to make here is that just because your current reality or your current perceived reality hasn't seen it yet, does not mean that it's not in your future. It doesn't mean it at all. And I want you to believe in possibility beyond your current perceived reality, because that's where dreams are made, dreams happen. There's so many businesses. I challenge you to think about a few businesses that somebody dreamed up, and they're there now. You can do it. You can do it. Love Get Smart. See, Get Smart. He was ahead of his time, wasn't he? We still haven't got shoe phones, but that would be awesome. When I was a kid, I wanted the boys' Barter Scout shoes because they had a little compass in the bottom, and I didn't want the girls' ponytail ones. Anyway, that's another story. So is everybody sort of feeling a bit, I'm just going to ask you to go helpful leather in the chat now. Is everybody feeling okay? Like, just write yes or why or something, or feeling positive, feeling absolutely amazing. I like seeing that one. All good. Yeah. Great. 155 is going to take a while, but we're going to do it. Good, good. We might actually have time if there's a couple of stuck things, but let's see how we go. Yeah, there is work to do. Yes. Thank you. This isn't going to, I don't come with a magic wand. So I just can't sort of say we've done this project. Now off you go. We're all up and good. And I've just given you the magic pill. It's not like that, but at least now it's on paper. You can start pulling it out and really doing it well. So the comments look good. I'm happy that it seems to be hitting the ground really good. Feeling more understood and motivated. Good. Motivation pill. Good. Okay, so let's turn over the page because we do still have a little bit of time. So this is some further things to consider. And I usually just put these in because in any of these virtual workshops, but because we usually don't get to them, but I think I've gone pretty fast. The fact that you guys can't really ask me questions and talk is sort of made it go a lot quicker than I anticipated. So so let's keep going. So what benefits can you foresee short-term and long-term, and to who and to why? So this one is there for your story. Remember before I said that you, if you're going to start selling a story, like what problem you're solving, what's the impact if you don't solve it, all that sort of stuff. When you're looking for funding, or when you're looking for partners or collaborators or stakeholders, or just to convince your tribe of people, you're going to want to have a story there, and you're going to want to be able to say to them, hey, this project is really worth doing. It's really worth you supporting, because look how it's helping people, or helping the environment, or helping planets, or helping the planet, or animals, or whatever. And people really get into a story. And in particular, if you're trying to convince a person in particular to become a stakeholder, become a partner or a collaborator or something like that, what I would do is, it's a bit of a sneaky thing, and some of you may already do this anyway with your work, but find out as much as you can about that person, find out what's important to them, and so whatever they value, start to connect the benefits to their value. So for me, with girls in Africa, who we supply sanitary pads to, and it just terrible situations for girls over there. If I know somebody's about to give me $2,000, and I know that they've got a teenage daughter, I will happily spin off the story about how the teenage girls are raped when they go to get water, when this is all true, but it affects their values. Do you know? And they can't stand the thought that their daughter could be their daughter. So and they want to get on board, and it's not because I'm trying to scab money out of them or anything like that, but they actually want to do more than give me their money. They actually then want to start really getting involved and start learning more and everything else, because you've touched a value, you've connected with them through a value. So when you're talking about benefits and that, think about who you're going to be connecting with and what their values might be. And even when you're looking for a tribe, maybe their values will be aligned to the problem and who's going to benefit. So, I'll probably leave that with you, just so that you can feel. I want you to come back to this worksheet, or write on another piece of paper, because it might not be big enough, but start to really pull everything out, really pull it out. And the next thing is the connections. Who do you know? What could you ask them for? And who do they know? So I'm putting it here again, please do not use people. Don't use people. But do you have a brother or a cousin or a friend who knows how to build websites? Do you have a friend of a friend who does documentaries, who might be able to spend 2 hours with you, showing you a whole lot of cameras and what sort of things you could use for your documentaries? Do you have somebody who knows somebody who owns a real estate agent, who might have properties sitting there, like shop leases and stuff like that are sitting there without occupants in them, that might actually be able to give you a shop front or something for $50 a week or $100 a week, just while they're not, while people are not in them at the moment? Do you know somebody whose brother owns a bus company? I want to ship, I don't mean the ship, but elderly people to dances, once a month or something like that. Do you know someone whose brother owns a bus company or works for a bus company? Do you know somebody whose cousin might be a bank manager? Like, think way beyond. But you got to be careful how you ask them too. You can't just go up to your friend and say, "Oh, I know your brother's a bank manager. Can you ask him to give me $100,000?" You can't do that. But you could be like, "Would you mind introducing us? So that I can set up a meeting with that person." But there are so many people that you will have in your sphere that you won't have even thought of. And I'll tell you one thing about Australians too, is we don't brag. We don't tell each other our story. We don't tell each other the skills we have, because as soon as you say to someone, "What are your skills? What are your strengths?" Nothing really. I don't do much. "Oh, you're really good at building websites." Anybody can do that. This is what we do, and as a matter of fact, if we started to share what we do and share what we love and share what our skills are, people would tap into them, and yes, they'd probably ask us for favors, but I tell you what, nothing feels better than actually helping another human being. So you feel valued, you feel worthy, you feel great about yourself if you can build websites and you can help somebody. If you build websites and you can help a charity put together a website, you're going to feel damn proud of yourself. You're going to feel really, really, really good. So think about your connections, and then who do they know? So who do you know? Who do they know? Then over the page, I think we're going exceptionally well. Is your tribe. Now, I've tried to make this really simple. A lot of you already know how to get your tribe. But what do they look like? Where do they hang out? And how can you connect with them? So I've done a couple of examples. One of them is, let's say we want to do a school education program that is to do with the environment. You're going to be looking at what do your people look like? Well, they could be students because it's for young people, parents, teachers, youth, people in leadership roles, people with an environmental focus. They're probably going to hang out at a school, university, library, online environmental groups, rallies, that sort of stuff. And then in the right-hand column is, well, what sort of medium would you use to connect to them? And the next one is doggy daycare. So you can see that that's going to be a whole different tribe of people. You don't want to be trying to get to everybody, because it's really hard work. It's exhausting and draining. And like someone said before, keep it narrow and keep it deep, inch wide, mile deep. And, find the people that really, really support you first, so that you start to build a really, really effective tribe. So there's a place there for you to write, fill in for your own project. And I'm going to finish, well, I'm not going to finish, but I'll just finish by saying, dream it, dream, because everything that we've got on this planet, everything we've got in this world, somebody dreamt up first. It didn't just come. God, whether you believe in God, I don't care who you believe in, but God didn't just drop businesses all over the place and say, oh, we need someone to run that. Somebody dreamt it up. Somebody actually had an idea and brought it to life. And when you decide to do it, that's the bit I love, because once you say, that's it, I'm doing it, in a funny way, but it always happens. The universe, call it what you want. I don't care what you want to call it. Call it the fairies or the unicorns. It doesn't matter. But it always conspires to make it work for you. It always does. It's just like when I'm going to buy a Mitsubishi Triton, and what is it? Every single car you see on the road is a bloody Mitsubishi Triton. That's exactly how it works, because I've decided I'm going to buy that car, and then you see them everywhere. So when you decide to do something, you will start to see stuff everywhere. Everything starts to line up, but you have to make that decision. And then the last thing is to take action. And if you don't take action, it's not going to happen. So, you can sit around and talk about this as long as you want. It is so right about the car, but you can sit around and talk about this as long as you want. And if you don't take action, it's not going to happen. And when I say take that first step, that is the first thing. Once you start taking action, everything is going to start to fall in place. Now, trust me on this. I've built so many projects. I know, but you have to do it. You have to put one foot in front of the other. You have to back yourself. I see it like this. It's starting here, my starting point. My vision is way over there. It's so far away that I don't know how to get there, but I'm going to tell you this. You start here, you keep your eye on that vision, and you do not take your eye off that vision, even if it moves a little bit according to your why or whatever. Just keep your why in that vision and take one step at a time. You put one paver down, you will identify the first step, which we've just done. Step into that step. Back yourself, have the courage, step into that step. Then you put another paver down, because you will know what the next step is. Once you take that step, the next step appears in front of you. Step on it. And then the next step appears, step on it. Before you know it, it's one step at a time. You are going to have this thing smashed. You're absolutely going to. Yes. So anyway, that's it. If you need any more information, there's some details. Now, we've got about, how long have we got left? We've got about 15 minutes. So I might, do you think we can open it up to a couple of questions? I can't answer everybody's, and I'm really, really sorry about that. But if maybe put your questions in the chat rather than open your microphones. And how do you deal with overwhelm? I'm not, if that's for me. Overwhelm, I think, is go back to your why. Think about why you're doing it. Take a deep breath. Sometimes you can take a day out. I know I said do it every single day, but sometimes you can reach a point where you just go put it aside for a day or two. Take one step at a time. I think you've got to focus on the next step. The overwhelm comes from focusing on the gap. And the gap is between where I am now and where I want to be. And I notice that all the work that I've ever done with people is that's where they find their overwhelm. It's like I've got so much in this big gap and I absolutely don't know how to manage it. But if you do one step at a time, just the next step, that seems to I'm not going to say gets rid of overwhelm, but it certainly puts it back in its box. It's the best advice I can give at the minute because I don't know your project. But what do you say to family and friends who don't support us and question what we're doing? Okay. Don't tell them. Find people that do support you. But I think what that's about courage. That's about you believing in it, and that's about your why being strong enough. If your why isn't really, really strong, you're going to waver, and you're going to allow other people to put you off. You've also got to look at and ask yourself, well, what are their values? And sometimes their values are not going to be anywhere like yours, and they're going to be trying to impose your values. You've got to remember that when people impose limitations on you, they're actually projecting their own limitations. So I would just keep working on, if you have to tell people around you, clearly you're going to have to tell a husband or something like that. But I would start to just chip away at it without saying too much, or be courageous and say, I'm going to do this. I've got a good friend. I just want you to, Kerryn, when you yourself feel like you're losing confidence and courage, I fought off mentors for a long, long time. And because I didn't know who I wanted or what I wanted them for. And I might just share this with you. It's I found a mentor in America, and she was very expensive, but I needed somebody who would give me a kick up the ass and say, right, this is what you've got to do. And she helped me design a great leadership program to do community projects for leadership teams. And I still didn't feel great about it, and I felt something was wrong. And so I've just finished doing this thing with Janet Hogan. It's called The Fifth Door. And what was happening for me was I'm hugely successful in all of my projects, but I've got a money blockage. And what I found is that, even though all of these things are successful on many levels and changing lives around the world on massive scales, I wasn't making much money. And once I did this thing with her, it turned out that I had a block from childhood where I was excluded from one conversation. I actually had a fantastic childhood, and I consider myself very lucky, but I was excluded from one conversation about putting my cat down. My cat was my best friend, and I was excluded from that. And in that moment, I felt voiceless and helpless, and I felt like I didn't have any value. Now, I went through the rest of my life not really even knowing that I had those feelings, but because I had no value, I thought I wasn't valuable. I was not putting any value on myself, and I was causing myself to be broke all the time. And it's taken me till now, I'm 57, to actually do this program to work out that was a problem. And now that I've done it, and now I can see the connection, I can see how damn ridiculous that is. And now I'm able to start charging money. But I haven't been able to charge money for 50 years. So enough. So that's what I do. But I also like, I have my book of all the things that I've done, all the achievements I've done, and I just look at it. I have things hanging up on the wall too. I've got stuff here from the Philippines and from Singapore and all around the world that people have given me, and they're up just reminding me that I do stuff on the world stage that it makes a massive difference to people, and I keep them where I can see them, and that's how I do it. But well, I want to share that story because I actually think that people, we all, like, I know I am very confident and I am very competent with everything I do, but we've all got something that's blocking us. We all have, and I wish I had known this years ago. I wish I had have known it years ago. But I'm trying to say that to you earlier, that there's something behind your, when we got to that what's in the way, there will be something sitting behind that's causing a blockage. It's really well worth looking back to your childhood to say, how did I feel in a particular moment that you can identify, or a series of moments, and how is that playing out in my life now? And it's actually quite a vulnerable and hard thing to do, but I think it's worth it, because we're here. We're not on this planet to play small. We're not on this planet to be half of the person we are. We're here to do our best. What steps did you take to find the right mentor for yourself? As I said, I looked for mentor. I looked for the right person, but I didn't know if I wanted a business mentor, or I didn't know if I wanted a financial mentor. I actually didn't know who I wanted. And then I was, I do a podcast, and one of my guests mentioned that she has a mentor, and she said her book is something about a book called Some Day is Not a Day of the Week. And I thought she said she was a mentor. And when I looked it up, it was Sam Horn, and she's from Colorado or somewhere like that in America. And so I just looked her up and I thought, she sounds perfect. And she cost me $5,000 for 3 sessions. And that was, when we're talking about me not having money, it was, I recognized that if I didn't invest, I wouldn't get it back. She's brilliant, but I worked out after the first session that I still had a barrier, that I still had a blockage. And so then Janet Hogan, when I found her, she's been a friend of mine for a long time. Her daughter was in my book, Magnificent Kids. Her Fifth Door program came up on LinkedIn, and I was overwhelmed. I just burst into tears when I saw it. And because I'd been asking, not God, I just said, oh, come on, what is wrong? And I trusted that she was the one, and I'm so glad I did it, because it's busted me right through a whole big issue there. And also I felt voiceless, and because I didn't stand up for my cat, I didn't speak up. And so so now it's my turn to give that voice back to women. So yeah, I think that you use your pain to change the lives of other people, and I worked out that I was lacking self-worth, and if you asked me if I would never have said that. So I'm going to build other people's self-worth through this program, and then I'm going to feel good about my self-worth. So that's how it works. So I don't know how we're going for time. I know we're still at 5 minutes. I'm sorry, I've been rattling on about my little journey, and I haven't been reading the questions, but I don't know if there are any questions, but I think that you need mentors. I've been mentoring people for a long time, and I really wish that I could have found someone a lot sooner, but I didn't know where to look. So you guys are really lucky. Mentor Walks has come along at a really, really wonderful time, and I'm so appreciative that people like Bobby and her team are doing this for women, because it really creates a community that builds each other up. And that saying, rising tide, keeps ships afloat and everything else. And when I was asking these people about what keeps women voiceless, somebody said that she's been bullied massively from other women, and I find that deplorable, that women would tear each other down. So yeah, so anyway, So I don't know what else to say. I just want you guys to, I want you to succeed. Please back yourself. Please understand that you've got a gift inside you that that is so critical and so essential to get out there, and the world needs you. I don't care what you're saying about yourself. I know you're going to be doubting yourself and having all these thoughts and why me? I'm not good enough. There are other people out there who are doing this, other people who do it better than me, but I can tell you nobody does it with your voice, you know, and people, there are people who need your voice. You will connect with people. So please, 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 please go and back yourself and do it.
Okay.
And everybody's thanking me, so I'm just going to thank everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
So, Kerryn, I might come in here. So, massive thank you for me. Thank you, everyone, for the fantastic chat that's been going throughout the talk. Just a few things that have had enormous resonance for me from Kerryn, that she sees failure as feedback, that she sees rejection as redirection. I thought they were wonderful statements.
Yeah.
Think about 15 minutes a day for your project and get it on paper, because if you do, it will start to come alive.
Yep.
And let's start with a small pilot project. And I think the message for today is just start and start small. And one of the best things ever said to me was small movements create movement.
Yep.
So just get started.
Yep.
So, and I also want to just support Kerryn and what she said, that what we need is courage, not confidence. You know, courage is what gets you to take those first small steps. So just go do it. And small steps, as we all know, add up. Finally, it's clear that a lot of you really value mentorship and are looking for mentors. I encourage you to come on a mentor walk anytime you'd like to. What we're doing also through COVID is many of the walks are virtual. So that means that you can access many more all over Australia, and we welcome you to any of those. We also have a number of our mentors who are happy to mentor women at any time. Some of them are paid mentors, some are unpaid. So if you are searching for a mentor, please reach out to Joni, our operations manager, and she can link you up with some women in our networks who are keen to help you. Yep. The other thing that's been great to see on the chat line is how many of you are offering your own talents to other people in the group. Yeah. One of the brilliant things that happen in mentor walks is that people meet people who've got skills that they need, and they exchange and barter those skills, or they just pay it forward because they can and want to. And I totally endorse what Kerryn said, that when you help other people, nothing is as good. And that's helping them without expecting anything back, just because you can. Yeah. So if you feel like doing that and there are skills that you've got that you'd like to offer to the group here, please put it out there on our Facebook page and in the chat now quickly if you want to, and people can grab that. But we'll link you up with other people if that works. So please follow us on social media too, because that's another way for you to connect with other people in the group. So without further ado, I think just a massive thank you to Kerryn for her passion and her energy and her clarity to help us take the small steps to move forward. Greatly appreciate it. And I think you can see from all the comments in the chat how much everyone appreciates what you brought to them today. So thank you so much. Massive collective clap.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Oh, well, everyone. And, kickstart your idea. Thanks so much. Thank you.
Thanks. See you guys.